I'm getting mad. I'm getting real mad. And sometimes when you get this mad, you gotta use a mad dog coil. Ugh. So this is a new antenna out of Australia, and I gotta tell you, this thing is frickin' cool. Very, very solid construction. This comes in 4 different variants. You basically have a 40-meter version that I'm holding. There's also an 80-meter version that's longer. And then you have either a metric version or an imperial version, which is just gonna change the threading of how this connects to whatever you're gonna mount it on. So this is a 3/8 24, and I think it's also in the metric version, a M10 maybe, whatever you metric guys use. Price, I think we're like Australian kangaroo bucks, whatever they use down there. This one is $99. The 80-meter version is, I think, $119 there. And I'm really excited. I'm playing with this thing all day. So let's hop on the picnic bench and I will tell you all about this really cool antenna. So here's a look at this beautiful antenna. This is rated for 100 watts sideband, 75 watts CW, and 50 watts AM, FM, and digital. And this is just a really cool design. And the thing that really caught me about this is you can actually connect this 2 different ways. And by that, I mean, if you want to use the BNC on here, you can simply plug your antenna into the BNC, and then you're going to use this jumper wire and plug it into this red plug. And this is what's going to jump to these collars here. And then you slide this up and down in tune, just like many other coil antennas. Now this comes with one of these collars. He sent me a couple extras to play with so you can do multiple bands. So say this is set for 40 meters here. If I want to quickly jump up to 20 meters, just unplug this, plug it in there, bam, Bob's your uncle. Over here, this negative side is where you're gonna have your ground radial system. Now I just made up, I went to the hardware store, Ace Hardware, bought some of these bullet connectors, some male and female bullet connectors, and then I just wired 3 in here. So for your ground radial system, you can just plug this into here and then plug, I've got some, I think 10-meter radials, plug them into there, and now I've got a whole radial field. And the cool thing about this being banana plugs is somebody trips on it, they just come right out. So that's a pretty neat feature there. But the other cool thing, so like this setup right here, in its configuration, I would just screw this 3/8 thread into, this is my K-Murder Death spike. So I can just put the spike in the ground, the feed point goes in here, and then the ground radials come out here, okay? Let's say you don't have a K-Murder Death spike, and this is just a mirror mount that I put on a metal rod that I ground down into a spike. Let's say you don't have one of those. Maybe you have something like this from Wolf River Coils. This is their tripod where you screw in the legs here, right? Well, the feed point's right here. Well, we can change the feed point. All we have to do is, instead of using this red wire, we're simply gonna bypass all of this by plugging the wire into this bottom thread, and now the bottom thread is connected to our center conductor basically. So the center conductor goes up through here, okay? Screw this in, and now I can plug my coax into here. And this is actually a radial puck that I have here that I can just plug into that. Or we can take these eyelets and put them in the legs of the tripod and screw in like such, and then put my radials out that way. So you've got options in terms of how you mount this antenna. You can also put it on like a mag mount, or something if you want to just put it on your car, or some of those clamp mounts. You've got options. I've never seen this in any other style of this kind of coil antenna, so that's really cool. Getting back to these collars, these are really easy to use. You simply unscrew them and you just slide it over the collar, put the wing nut and the washer back on, screw it back on, and you can get, you probably could fit like 3 of them on here and still get like 40, 40, 17, and 20, whatever you want to do there, 40, 20, 17 rather, just by having more taps up here. And with the 80 meter version, you could have even more. So very nicely done. It's kind of just made of like a threaded pipe material. You can unscrew the bottom one. Don't unscrew the top one. There's stuff connected there. You'll damage it. And then the top here just has, again, the 3/8 24. Now, one thing to note with this antenna, we're only talking about the coil. You need to supply your own way of mounting it. So I'm using today the Wolf River Coils tripod. This radial puck is from REZ Antennas. And the whip I'm using, I think it's the Wolf River Coils 102-inch, 108-inch whip. And I'm using, the soil conductivity here is really bad at the K8MRD Proving Ground, so I have to use a lot of radials here. So I'm using 15 2.5 meter radials. And then in the puck, I have 3 10-meter ground radials plugged into this. And this thing tunes like a champ. At home, I only need to use the 3 10-meter radials and I get fantastic SWR results. So where you are is going to be very dependent. That's nothing wrong with this antenna. Literally every single coil antenna that I have like this, I have the same issue here. I need more radials. So just keep that in mind. You may want to keep some extra radials in your bag if you're going to take this portable, depending on where you live, what kind of soil conductivity you have, and all that stuff. But I was able to get some amazing SWR results with this thing from 40 meters all the way through 10 meters. So let's take a look at that now. So check this out. At 40 meters, I got 1.09 to 1 right in the middle of the band. We're under 2 to 1 across the whole band. Fantastic. 30 meters, we're 1.27 at 10.122 megahertz, under, probably 1.2, 1.3 across the whole band. 20 meters, incredible, under probably 1.3 to 1 across the whole band. 17 meters looks great, 1.2 to 1 across the whole band. 15 meters, same thing, about 1.2 to 1 across the entire band. 12 meters, 1.1-ish across the whole band, just great bandwidth on this thing. 10 meters, I was surprised, it's a big band. We're still, maybe 1.5, 1.6 at the highest, all the way up in the FM portion towards the lower portion where I hang out at 28.238. I'm at 1.11 to 1 SWR. Like, it's just amazing. This thing is fantastic. So no problem getting some bandwidth out of this antenna. Now, one thing I really like about this antenna is how this metal collar goes all the way around the coil. I find it's a lot easier, and you simply just loosen the wing nut, slide it up or down, and I found for fine tuning, like other antennas of this style, you kind of have to move the collar left or right to really tweak it a little bit. I found that on some bands, I couldn't really get it like right in the middle. You know, one notch up would be too short, one notch down would be too long. You don't need to turn it, just tighten it down, and then you can use the whip and just adjust it up or down. So I'll keep it like in a lower position so it's resonant towards the lower portion of the band or even a little below the band, and then I can just shorten the whip and fine tune it and get an exactly perfect match here. Tuning this thing is incredibly easy. But none of that's going to amount to a can of Frank's beans if it doesn't make contact. So I'm going to get on the air, I'm going to play a bunch of FT8 on a few different bands, then I'll probably hop on sideband and see what we can do with this thing. All right, well, I'm going to call that a success on FT8. I did 10 meters, 15 meters, and 20 meters. Got out all over the place, made a bunch of contacts there. Here's a beautiful map of this. The antenna performed fantastically. It never overheated on FT8. I was running about 40, 50 watts, somewhere in there. Perfect SWR, I mean, just like nothing. It was perfect. My radio saw no reflected power at all. It was great. Then I hopped over onto sideband, just on 20 meters because it's kind of getting late in the day. 20 phone wasn't that great today, still made 23 contacts in 12 minutes. So I'm gonna call that a success. This is a cool antenna, guys. I give this the K8MRD seal of approval for sure. I just really like the design of this thing. So I'll leave a link in the description to the Mad Dog coil if you want to grab one. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Mike, K8MRD. This is Ham Radio Tube 73.